over to youtube.com/Clay Kane Show. That's youtube.com/Clay Kane Show. And check out Reece and I on YouTube. We'll be on here for a minute. Here at my girl, she is the host of the Reecie Colbert Show, which airs every single Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, check her out on C-SPAN tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. Get up bright and early and check out some Reecie Colbert. My girl, Reecie Colbert, how you feeling?
Hey, New York Times bestseller, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And speaking of that, I want to remind people, if you want to get a signed copy of my book, The Grift, The Downward Spiral of Black Republicans from the Party of Lincoln to the Cult of Trump, this time a year ago, there you go, Reese's got it too. It was on the New York Times bestsellers list. I was so grateful on Carter G. Woodson's Black History Month. Pick it up. You can get a signed copy at strandbooks.com. That's STRAND books.com. They are independent booksellers since 1927, and I signed a bunch of copies, the paperback, and they'll mail it out to you wherever you are in the domestic United States. So be sure to pick up a signed copy of The Grift. Reecie, you know, Stephen A. Smith.
What now? Lord Jesus.
Stephen A. Smith has some thoughts, and I think it's important to push back on misinformation. He has some thoughts on the Democratic Party candidates. Listen to this.
Because y'all are too busy trying to pick candidates for the American people instead of listening to the American people tell you who they want. The last Democrat that the American people told you they wanted was Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton, it's her turn. Bernie Sanders had momentum. It's Hillary's turn. Joe Biden captured momentum because Representative Clyburn got involved in South Carolina, saved us behind, but it's really, really his turn, okay? He has no business running for re-election, but everybody went for it, knowing he was supposed to be transitional. He's going to be 81 years of age. Then you sit up there. He doesn't have a primary. Then he goes on the debate stage, embarrasses himself. Then y'all still let him take 3 damn weeks to walk away instead of getting the hell out there immediately so you can see if there's somebody other than Kamala Harris who could be the Democratic nominee. Then she gets the nomination, and everybody wants to act like she's the rock star all of y'all wanted all along. Oh, my God, let's throw up our hands and just to say, hey, she is the one, when you know good and damn well that wasn't the truth.
Little bit of fact checking here. This idea that Obama was the last Democratic president where the American people chose him. First of all, I'm old enough to remember when Oprah was vilified because they said, "How dare you choose for the American people who our next president should be?" You were using your star power. You were using your celebrity to choose the next president. She was vilified for that. And the narrative was that our president was chosen by, a millionaire, billionaire, whatever her status was back then. Because if you recall, she was campaigning during the primaries. She had never endorsed a president before. For our younger listeners, that might be surprising, but Oprah's level of star power was even beyond Beyonce. It was out of this world. So there were people that said Oprah has interfered in our political process. So that doesn't make any sense to me. And Obama mollywopped Hillary Clinton during the primaries. Right?
To be fair, there was a time where Hillary Clinton was leading President
she
Obama
was.
in the popular vote, but it was the super delegates that put him over, and she ended up dropping out. So he did
Super Tuesday. He did.
Yeah, he ended up beating her in the popular vote barely, but she had already dropped out.
Right.
When he,
exactly.
So people just ended up voting for him anyway. But there was actually a time when, if you were going strictly by the votes cast, that actually it was Hillary Clinton that was winning in the 2008 primary. Now, I was a Barack Obama supporter, so I wasn't mad. Right. But I'm just saying, if we're doing the real math, that's really how it went for a vast majority until she dropped out.
Right. But Super Tuesday, she was still in, and he really whaled her Super Tuesday. Like she lost like 11 states in a row at one point.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you wanted to stay in popular vote totals, not state by state
Gotcha, gotcha,
contest. And
gotcha.
because state, you can win, but there are still proportional delegates. Some states are winner take all.
Right,
So I'm just saying that technically, and this isn't a knock on President Obama. It's just the
right.
facts of the matter are the fact of the matter is that for much of the campaign, Hillary Clinton was leading in the
Yeah,
popular vote of the Democratic nominations. And she was
yeah.
close in terms of even the pledge delegates. It was the super delegates that that swung to Barack Obama so strongly. They ended up changing the rules to, in the future elections to where the super delegates played less of a role on that first ballot, so that you
Right,
didn't have the situation, they didn't want another black person just be able to squeak in around the white person. So they said,
right,
let's change these
right.
rules and shit. Yeah, I'm saying. So yeah.
But the narrative was that look at what Oprah's doing. I mean,
Oh
talk
yeah,
about a James Clyburn endorsement. The Oprah endorsement was huge. When you bring, I know there's this narrative that Hillary Clinton took the vote from Bernie Sanders because of DNC money and where the funding went. There's some folks that say that happened. There's some folks say there's no evidence of that happening. Nonetheless, Hillary Clinton won that primary. Won the primary. And
yeah.
the idea that, Biden was somehow installed and not chosen by the American people, Biden was not doing well in the polls, and Clyburn can endorse who he wants to endorse. I mean,
And
he
yeah,
and Biden won.
he won.
He won. I'll tell you one thing: the last two Democratic presidents that didn't win, they had something in common. They were women, but I guess those
Mm.
things don't matter. Maybe that's quote unquote woke. And then now, I guess Biden. I guess Stephen feels like, hey, we should have just had that open primary, which that would have went back to our history. What is it called? An open broker primary,
Oh, a
whatever it was
broker
called,
convention. Yeah. Mhm.
broker convention. Every time you've had a broker convention, that party loses every single time. So this idea that Democratic presidents are installed and whatever the case may be. Now, first of all, the majority of folks don't even vote during a primary. So there's that. There's that.
Yeah, about
That's
30%
percentage.
turnout in the primaries.
Exactly. But I just think it's funny. I'm like, really? Oh, wow. So, it just kind of makes me laugh.
Stephen A. Smith does not know shit about politics. I wish that he would just shut the fuck up. Okay. Now, if he were saying things that were factually correct, and maybe I just didn't like his take, I would be like, well, I don't agree, but he's not wrong on the facts, but he's saying things that are just flat out not true. And these people had a chance to run. Hillary Clinton ran against Barack Obama. She lost. When all the rules were taken into account, her ass lost. She withdrew her nomination. Okay. Bernie lost to Hillary. Now, Bernie went through every single primary. Okay. He did not drop out before every primary was completed, and he lost to Hillary
And
Clinton with.
struggled with black voters over 30. Struggled so. I remember when he went to Mississippi and said that Obama made a really bad mistake. Why did Obama, lose Mississippi by such a large margin? I
Mhm.
mean, you know, Bernie
He's
in his own
always had
circle.
race issues because he's class, not race. That's what Bernie Sanders is. Okay. But he went through every single primary in 2016 and lost. Okay. The votes were not there for Bernie. People had an option. They didn't choose him. Okay. In 2020, he went through every single primary. I remember it was Bernie and Joe on that damn stage. They was the last two standing, okay? Because he did not drop out on Super Tuesday. He went all the way through, practically. So Bernie lost fair and square. There was a primary in the 2024 election. Those people lost, okay? They were never real contenders. Anybody could have ran against Joe Biden if they wanted to, but I've said it before and I will say it again. Not one person had data, and all those people started running for president as soon as President Biden was inaugurated. Not one of those people had data that shows that they could both beat Joe Biden and beat Donald Trump. That is the sole reason why none of them ran against Joe Biden. If they had polling that said they can beat Joe Biden and Donald Trump, you would have had 20 people running, but they couldn't beat Joe. So they were smart enough to say, I can't beat him, so why run against him? And then I look like an asshole. That's not a coronation. That's just people knowing the facts and the evidence. Okay. So
I guess his perspective is that Biden should have not run for re-election.
That's not how this works. That's not how this works. That's not how politics works. People don't have to not run. You have to beat them. Yeah. Anybody can run. Yes. To be president, all you have to do is be 35 years old and be a natural born citizen. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? So people don't have to step aside for you. You have to beat them. That's how this works. So you don't get to say, well, Joe should have just done that. And because he didn't do that. No, he didn't do that. And nobody was big and badass enough to run against him. So guess what? He was able to run until he couldn't no more. Then it was Kamala. Now, again, if anybody had data to support the idea they can beat both Kamala and Donald Trump, they would not have given a fuck about 44,000 Black women on the call, about Biden saying we're going with Kamala. They would have ran against her. But again, they didn't have the data, because I know they didn't have the data, because even the public data didn't say that. They obviously, every one of these people would have been Amy Klobuchar, Gavin Newsom, Josh Shapiro, Gretchen Whitmore, all these people, even people to judge, I'm sure, had polling they was doing on the side. And they did not show them ahead. So we got the only feasible path of events that we could have gotten, short of, the Biden, dropping out earlier. Everybody did what they did out of self-preservation, not because they were told not to. It's because they couldn't beat the people they needed to beat to be the nominee. And they weren't going to flush their careers down the drain when they can get another crack at it in 4 years to when we have a country, or 8 years in some cases. So Stephen A. Smith is completely wrong there. But this whole idea that Bernie, who has now lost,
just getting ready to say this,
2 freaking presidential.
We still think Bernie would have won in 2016. Are we still saying that 9 years later?
Let me just give you some numbers for everybody. Oh, Bernie is so much better. Bernie got less votes than Kamala Harris did in Vermont. Less votes. She got 235,791 votes in Vermont. He got 229,429 votes in Vermont. I'm not talking about nationally. I'm talking about in Vermont. She beat Trump 63.8%. He beat his competitor 63.2%. So somebody explain to me where there's this groundswell of support for Bernie Sanders that would not also be there for Joe Biden, who won the most votes in history, with Kamala Harris on the ticket. That's number one. And then number two, for Kamala Harris, who did better than Bernie in his own damn state, that he's been a senator in the Congress for the past 30 years. And she still got more votes than him. So I need people, your feelings are not valid, but let's step outside of your feelings and your perceptions and shit you pull out your asshole. And let's just look at the data, look at the numbers, show me polling, show me data, show me votes cast. And then we can have a conversation based on the irrefutable facts of the matter, not just what you think. Okay. Period.
I think it's interesting.
And one more thing I will say too, is how many people have Bernie endorsed and lost compared to the person that Biden endorsed or Kamala endorsed? Where is Bernie's? If he's such a fucking rock star, he is a singularly talented, phenomenal politician who can transform this country. Why hasn't he passed the bill beyond naming post offices and shit? Why hasn't he built this force of untouchable politicians around him? Why hasn't that happened? Obviously, his star power hasn't translated to others. Now, there are people that he has supported that have won. Be very clear about that. I'm not disputing that, AOC and some others, but there are people that he supported and they did not win. re-election, they didn't win their primaries, whatever situation may be. So he is not this silver bullet. We don't have this magical Democrat out there anymore. We are losing elections for a number of reasons. And a big part of the reasons is because of disinformation spreaders, people who talk shit like Stephen A. Smith and don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah. Mm-mm-mm.
But nothing was stolen from Bernie. Nothing was stolen from any of these candidates. Everybody ran.
Can I add something though? This is what we were talking about on Tuesday, Reece, about where are the receipts for the Republicans? Donald Trump, somebody on YouTube, I see you, that Democrats made a mistake not having primary debates during the 2024 presidential race. I've never seen an incumbent president do primary debates, but I understand the level is always different. You know, for the cards are always different for Democrats, it appears. But Donald Trump didn't even do one primary debate.
Sure did.
He didn't do one. He didn't. Not with Nikki Haley. Not with Ron DeSantis. Not with Chris Christie. Not one primary debate. And that's okay. Not one. Donald Trump only debated Kamala Harris one time because she mollywopped him. Mollywop. I have never seen only one presidential debate in my lifetime. I've never seen that before. So you want to talk about the process and who's being chosen and so on and so on? This man didn't do anything. He didn't follow any kind of process. He didn't respect the voters enough to sit down and do a debate. And the Republican Party still supported him, still put money in his pocket, still stood by him as he was a convicted felon, as he was making strange comments about Nikki Haley's husband, as he was just being vile, even during the primaries. So where are the receipts for that party?
Yeah.
Where are the receipts for how they, you want to talk about after the insurrection, didn't even vote to impeach him? We wouldn't even be where we are today. Can you imagine if Barack Obama at the end of his first term had some insurrection at the White House? You would have had every senator, Democrat or Republican, impeaching him. So you want to talk about the process and how the process goes? I think we had a better, and you know what? Maybe that's part of our problem. Maybe we follow the rules too much. Maybe we just, go by the rules a little bit too much. Maybe Kamala Harris should have said, I won't debate you at all. They were vilifying Kamala Harris because she wasn't doing enough interviews. When he never sat down with 60 Minutes.
Yeah, he was turning down the interviews that she was going to.
So it outrages me when I see someone like Stephen A. Smith, his platform, I'm sure he'll be on Sean Hannity or one of those Fox News shows saying this.
Well, he's doing a tour with two Republicans, a three Americans tour. I think it's like Bill O'Reilly and somebody else. So this is his
really?
grip. Yeah.
And Bill O'Reilly. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's Bill O'Reilly and some other white man. Yeah, I saw two white men and him, and I was like,
but in closing, what this boils down to, I know folks don't want to hear this. It boils down to voting during a primary. If you believe in a candidate, you got to vote during a primary. That's what it is. Those primaries are state by state. State by state. You got to show. So I'm not going to be mad at I know some folks were vilifying older black voters for voting for Joe Biden in South Carolina in 2020.
Well, he did win.
They voted.
So, yeah.
He won. I mean, he won in states, Joe Biden, where he didn't even put a dime of money. And he won in Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren state, and didn't even put a dime of advertising in. What'd you say?
She placed third.
Right.
In her home state.
So I just think it's silly. But yeah, whoever you
and to be very, very clear, Biden was not the choice of the media. It was not a choice.
They said he was dead in the water. Remember that article? Biden is dead in the water.
Yeah. They pushed Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Warren. Everybody was Warren Easter honey. So
It was
I don't
Warren
want to
or
hear.
Warren.
Now we
Right.
rewriting history and acting like it was like everybody was gung ho Joe. No, but yes, Jim Clyburn did endorse him, but also um, Joe Biden had the reputation and the credibility with the Black community, so he won based on that, and then he won once he got more endorsements. So what? There's nothing wrong with that. And that's what people have to understand. Just because you don't like the outcome doesn't mean that something was unfair. It doesn't mean that the process wasn't followed, that rules were broken. Any person who wanted to challenge Kamala Harris could have done so. They chose not to. Anybody who wanted to
Yeah, they could have because Joe
challenge,
Manchin was about to do it. They could have. Yeah.
yeah, but they know they saw that they were going to lose. So these profiles and courage that you want to have, all these martyrs, everybody was a fucking martyr falling on their swords to bolster Kamala Harris, who they fought tooth and nail against for 4 years, undermining her at every single possible turn, including in the actual Biden administration, Biden part of the administration. All of these people who wanted to kick her off the ticket, who dogged her ass out, leaked everything negative about her. All of those people, all of a sudden, decided to martyr themselves for Kamala Harris's ambitions. Y'all really fucking believe that? That's delusional. That's delusional. If they thought they had a 30% chance of beating her, they would have ran against her. Okay. But they
Can I ask
knew
you a
that they
question?
didn't.
I think I know what you're going to say. Do you think if Biden would have stayed in the race, do you think that he would have had a bigger loss than Kamala Harris or a smaller loss? Do you think his loss would have been bigger or do you think it would have been smaller?
I don't know if I think it would have been smaller. I don't. Here's the thing. I did not call for Biden to step down.
You never did. You
I
never
did not
did.
call publicly for him to step down. But
Right.
what I saw and the several times that I went to the White House, and then what I saw in that year, because I've been going to the White House since 2022, 2021, it was locked down with COVID. I saw Joe Biden over the years. The Joe Biden that I saw the first 6 months of the administration, as far as first 6 months of 2024, I was like, ooh, Joe getting old. Like, I was like, ooh, is Joe okay? So there was, but I was just thinking, like, okay, he's busy, he got a lot going on. And then when I saw him on that debate stage, I said, oh, fuck. So what I saw, what I had been seeing, that deterioration was real. It wasn't like just a bad day. So because I had seen him frequently, I had seen his performance kind of downgrade, I don't believe that he would have been able to sustain the kind of campaign that he needed to win. And but I don't know if he would have, and I don't believe he would have gotten a smaller loss. Now, I would have said, keep your ass in the basement, Joe. Don't be out there, don't do no rallies, don't do shit. Just let the time go by. And we have to take our chances with that. But I know that people think, oh, he's a white man, and it was just all gender and race. But a lot of people had a big problem with Joe's age and his cognitive abilities. And I think that that was an even bigger issue than Kamala's race and gender. So you never know, but
Never know.
at this, I mean, he tripped over a sandbag and it was a problem. Anything he did, it was a problem. I think he held it together a lot better than I expected after he dropped out. But I'm just not convinced because of my firsthand experience in interacting with him that he would have been able to overcome that hump of convincing people that cognitively he would have been able to do the job. In 4 years, people ignored the polling that said Joe is too old, Joe is too old, Joe is too old. And then his numbers collapsed. And it was like, oh, maybe we should have listened. So I know how people feel about her race and gender, and that was all that it was. I still don't don't share that thought. I still think that she had a more winnable race than he did based on where he was cognitively and where I think she pivoted too hard to the right in terms of running Hillary 2.0 campaign instead of running a base Obama type of campaign. But I just don't think he would have made it. I just don't. You think so? You think he would have had a smaller loss, or you think he would have won?
I don't know if he would have won, but I think he would have had a smaller loss.
Hmm.
And I say that not because of the swing states. I say that because of the blue states.
Mm-hmm.
From my heart, Reecie, I believe those low numbers, I bring it up every week, in New Jersey, in New York, in Virginia. I'm not going to say 100% of it, but I do believe it was because it was a woman.
Mm.
I mean, that those numbers are heartbreaking. If you're
Mm-hmm.
watching on YouTube, I've said it before. Joe Biden won New Jersey by 14 points. Kamala Harris won by 5 points. That's stunning. The lowest voter turnout rate in a presidential election in New York since 1992.
Yeah, that's bad. That's just inexcusable.
Virginia. I remember election night. Like, what the f is happening in Virginia?
I know.
I
I
said,
was
my
scared, honey. I
God,
was like,
you've got to be kidding me! If she loses Virginia, so I'm not saying it's 100% race, but I understand what you're saying as far as the way that Joe Biden appeared. Um, Now, it was very interesting. Remember during his debate, people who were Spanish, who spoke Spanish, when
mm-hmm,
they read the debate on the captions, they preferred Joe Biden much more than Trump because
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
factually Joe Biden was on it, but his delivery. So I don't know, but I do believe some of those really hard, and we haven't seen the total voter turnout numbers just yet. I don't think that won't come out till a couple of months, like via race and everything. We don't know yet. But I do think that some of those strange numbers that we haven't seen in a long time, I think that it really would have, I think it may have been different.
It
And,
may
and then
have
also I'll
been,
add,
but I also
I'll
feel like
also,
the enthusiasm was not going to be there for
for Joe Biden.
Joe. I think that the enthusiasm was not going to be there for him, and I just don't know what other message he would have had that would have really resonated. The thing that really hurt Kamala was her refusal to separate herself more from Joe Biden. Like, she didn't have an answer, which was crazy. She had an answer that somebody listened to this show and they basically tweaked it a little bit for her closing statement. That was, you needed to have that answer on the View, and on 10 other times that you were asked, what would you do different from Joe Biden? So I think people were looking for more of a change. So that's why I'm just skeptical that Joe would have been.
Reese, I felt like Joe didn't run a great campaign in 2020, and he still won. Like, I felt like that wasn't a great campaign at all in
It
2020.
it wasn't the best campaign, but he was far sharper.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was a known entity. So there are some built-in advantages, but I just want to point out Kamala got the third most votes in history. Okay.
she did.
It was them two so she's on two of the tickets that had the first and the third most votes in history. She got 10 million more votes than Hillary Clinton. So and her difference between Trump and and herself was about 2 million votes less. So I think she did pretty well. I just think that the base did not turn out, and the base is part geographic, right? Those blue states. So I just think that they left too many things unanswered. Now, I don't know if the trans argument would have worked as well if Biden
That's,
was the
that's a good
candidate,
point.
but I
Yeah.
think people really forget how powerful that age and cognitive argument was against Joe Biden. I mean, I've been on CNN, I've been on News Nation, I've been on, anytime I'm on any platform with a Republican is on there, they bring up again, still to this day, even though Trump is in office. Oh, well, Biden wasn't even there. We don't even know who was running. That to me was a lot more powerful of an argument than the race and gender shit. Not saying that race and gender shit didn't hurt her, but I feel like because he stepped aside, people forget how really, really, really bad that was.
It was constant. It was constant, and Democrats don't handle bad press very well. They don't know
Definitely
how to
do not.
combat it.
Nope.
So it was constant. It was yeah, it was constant. But that said, it still is. You know, it's not like he was up against or she was up against a Mitt Romney or a John McCain. Trump, I mean, my gosh, he was a convicted felon. I mean, it was wild. What one of the most bizarre, strange election cycles that he had, and he wiped his way through the primary. And so I remember when he stepped down, I told you, I said, I don't think anybody could win.
Yeah,
And
you said that.
I never said it again, but I said I don't think anybody can win because they've took a sledgehammer to Democrats for this 3-week long campaign against him, and it was wild. So mistakes are made, and yeah, just a thought I had.
I still think it was a winnable race. I felt really good about it in July, but as we got closer to September, I'm like, what is happening? And people were on my ass big time. I was getting so much hate mail because I was saying, what is y'all doing? Like, what is up with this Hillary 2.0? What is up with this? Telling them things. Now, at least with Biden people, they would listen, child. They would listen quickly because I would say something, then next thing you know, the day or two later, they saying the same shit. Calling people, it took them a while to get on to pick up the talking part. But I was signing them the alarm that, hey, this stuff is not a winning strategy. And people was just like, oh, you're just being da-da-da-da. And then she lost. I was like, did I fucking say this? Like, it was very much a winnable race. It was a winnable race, but it took everything going right. And it took better strategic moves than the strategy they selected. And I'll just give you one example. One of the things that I said that pissed me off so much is, why are you only running against J6 Donald Trump when he fucked up the pandemic and he fucked up the economy? And in the postmortem, they're like, well, we did some focus groups and we found that they didn't blame, when we talked about the pandemic, they didn't blame Donald Trump. And I'm like, okay, so you just dropped it? You just said, oh, well, since these 17 people don't blame Donald Trump, I guess it's not a winning argument. No, Republicans make you blame shit. Even if it wasn't your original idea, they made people believe that trans kids were getting sex changes in elementary school, or that trans kids were coming for your kids' gold medals and championships and shit like that. They made people believe that DEI is the worst thing that ever happened to this country and it's racist and illegal. Republicans know how to make fetch happen with even the most outlandish things. And Democrats are like, oh, well, since they don't already have that idea, I guess we just have to give it up. And now we see with bird flu and all this shit that what the attacks are doing on the health system. And it's like, you fuckers gave the same country back to the person who ruined the pandemic, but they didn't make that argument against him.
Reecie, listen to this. This is the legendary Andrew Young, who is still with us, icon, of course, talking about kind of what you just said. Keep the mic on. I want to play the full clip, but listen to what Andrew Young said.
Never let your adversary define the problem. Because the things that President Trump considers problems, I consider blessings.
Like what?
Well, I always have thought that my Christianity says this is my Father's world. And this hunger and starvation of God's children anywhere is a responsibility that I should assume if I can. Nationalism went out in the 1900s. In fact, that's probably what the Second World War was about. To say that we can't make it as a single nation on this planet, and that we've got to learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or we will perish together as fools.
Never let your adversary define the problem. That's good. Let's go to some calls here.
I just want to say to that quick point,
please.
That's what they're doing right now with allowing this narrative that federal workers are bad and that there's legitimate waste and fraud. And so we're having a discussion where we have to preface everything, not me, but other people. Oh, I believe that it's important to get rid of waste. I believe it's important to get rid of fraud. So you're already conceding the narrative that Republicans and the propaganda that they're putting forth. And then now you're on defense about that. Whereas we should be saying that our federal workforce is an investment, not only in these individuals, but it's an investment in our services. It's an investment in our economy. It's an investment in the well-being of our nation. That's how they should be framing this instead of accepting the Doge framing and the MAGA Republican framing that federal spending is bad.
Let's head to a call here. Let's go to Ralph from Georgia, first-time caller. What's up, Ralph?
Hey, what's going on there, Clay? Yeah, I see you rocking that blazer. Looking good, brother.
Hey, thank you,
how
brother.
How you doing, sister? Hey,
hi.
How you doing, my beautiful sister? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for asking. Kind of chilly down here in Georgia, but it's all good. It's all good. But
yes.
lots to unpack today. My goodness. I just wanted to touch on the election in Las Vegas with the last caller who I was talking to, and I was when I was in the military, I was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base. I was there from like 86 to 95, and most of our people were living in North Las Vegas. But however, since then, Las Vegas has grown so much because Las Vegas at one time was centered around the Mormons and Republicans, and it slowly has grown into well over now 2 million people. And back in the 80s, they elected
Ralph. We have tons of calls, brother. So give us your comment, man.
Yeah. I just wanted to just say that I do believe that there was some shenanigans going on in that presidential election.
Area, Clark County.
Yeah.
I hear you. Thank you for your call. A little bit of breaking but not breaking news. Minutes after Senator Mitch McConnell announced his retirement, Daniel Cameron has announced his launch. He's launching his Senate campaign.
Okay.
Daniel Cameron, who I highlight in my book, The Grift,
Mm-hmm.
he is a protege of Mitch McConnell. He was once the Attorney General of Kentucky. And reportedly, he really fought back against justice for Breonna Taylor.
Mm-hmm. He did.
And now he is running for senator. And I'm sure he'll get Mitch McConnell's support.
He probably
ran for governor and he failed miserably.
But he did win the nomination, right? He
did for the primary. Yeah. He did. So we'll see. Kentucky's an interesting state. It has a Republican governor. I'm sorry, Democratic governor.
Yeah.
But it's very red. So very interesting.
But I think it's interesting that, when a Black person is in the pipeline in the Republican Party, they usually tend to run mostly unchallenged, right? There isn't like this, oh no, it takes a white man to beat a white man. We can't have Black people running in the Republican Party. But so often, and I don't think that most voters feel this way, because obviously we've seen high profile incidents where Black people won the primaries, but we still get so much pushback in the Democratic side when we support Black candidates in the primaries. I mean, I remember, people who were, we need a white man to beat Larry Hogan when David Trone was running against Angela Alsabrook. She mollywopped David Trone. But there's always this pushback against Black candidates. And even some people from the last election said, well, I guess we're not running any more Black people for president. Like, wait a minute, how do we get to no more Black people? How do we get to no more women ever? Like, people should still run, and then you vote for who you feel like you should vote for. But this whole notion that we should just shut down the pipeline, we should just shut down the kind of nominees we have because one person is unsuccessful. They don't have that attitude on the Republican Party of like, well, a white woman lost, so we can't run any more white women, or a Black man lost, so we can't run any more Black people. Like, I'm not giving credit to Republicans. I'm just saying, I think it's very interesting that I already knew you were going to say Daniel Cameron because he's the only Black person in the pipeline.
they are going to shift a little bit. I think they realize a Herschel Walker or a Mark Robinson, that isn't going to work. Republicans care about winning.
Yeah.
So the buffoons on steroids, not going to work too much. And I'm not saying Daniel Cameron isn't terrible, but he at least has some credentials.
Yeah.
They want, he has something there where, although he was unqualified to be attorney general, but at least he has the attorney general label behind him. So,
well, Mark Robinson was lieutenant governor. So that's what I said, the pipeline.
Yeah, but he only got, before lieutenant governor, he was a former factory worker that went viral for insulting Michelle Obama and Black Panther. Yeah. So I think they're looking less for Herschel Walker's and looking more for Clarence Thomas's, where there's enough of credentials there, just enough, where it makes them legitimate.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. They're not just.
So I think that's a little bit of a dance.
Yeah.
There, because Mark Robinson, I mean, that was a disaster.
That was a nightmare.
And they thought they were gonna. That was it. I mean, you got to be careful with these grifters. Grifter's gonna grift. The tide's going to turn on you, and so on. I mean, Herschel Walker was an abortion lying disaster. So they're like,
he was agreed.
We like these tokens,
yeah,
but we need Clarence, we need Tim Scott.
Yeah,
that makes more
sense.
We need
some decorum. You can't have abortions and shit and porn chat boards.
Right. Exactly. Even Larry Elder running for governor of California with the recall. That was a train wreck.
That was not serious.
It ain't gonna work. We need a little bit. You got to be
more Tim Scott, a little bit less Larry Robinson.
Yeah, that's
right. What was his name? Works. No, Mark Robinson.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, the Allen Keys stuff that didn't work. You want to have somebody a little bit more that can present it a bit. Yeah. So let's do one more call, then we'll head to a break. Let's go over to, let me see here. Mike from Georgia. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Clay, how are you? And Reecie is the first. I called you, Clay, I think in June, and I said, you know what, I guarantee that she's going to win. But even when I told you that, Clay, I still remember your message and you saying, both, I think you and Reecie saying, but no party has ever won when the candidate has dropped, the sitting president has dropped out. And we're not, when you look at the data, Clay, we still voted at a higher, it was lower, but we still voted at a higher percentage from our community. So it wasn't really our community that.
What's the data? Because we don't have the black voter turnout data just yet. We do know in some states the black voter turnout, especially in Pennsylvania and in Tennessee, was incredibly low.
Detroit.
But I heard in Georgia it was on par. So what data do you mean though?
No, that's what I'm saying, because
in Georgia.
I don't have this right, and I'm in Georgia. But what I personally think is that the whole game plan, they started trying to get rid of Biden 2 years prior to when it was time for him to run in 2024. I personally think that the whole deal, the reason why there was such a backlash to Biden, I know he was old, but I felt that it was still winnable for him. But what they did not want, they did not think he would last the 4 years, and then Kamala would be basically propped up as the president.
She'd automatically not only
president. And the same group of people who was the Nancy Pelosi bunch, they decided they were going to sabotage Kamala Harris for this race. Like, Reecie, if I'm your candidate, Reecie, you tell me if I'm right. You're running my campaign, and I'm sick as crap. I sound like crap. You're going to say, hey, you know what? Hey, Mike, you go on there, not only do you get ready for the debate, but you're going to go out, you're going to campaign before the debate. Did that make any sense to you?
That was stupid. No, that was really dumb. I don't know why they let that happen.
Then that same people...
Mike, brother, we have to go to a break, but give me your comment about Bernie that you wanted to say to Reecie.
Bernie, it was those are the people that basically tanked Hillary and didn't vote. These are the same Democrats that said, we're not voting for a black woman. It wasn't our community. It's enough. We're not voting for a black community. They didn't think they would be affected the way that they're being affected now by the Trump administration.
Yeah.
They figured out we'll survive.
Mike, I want to say we have to go to a break, and I don't want to say it was our community or it wasn't our community. I'm not saying that. I think what I ultimately, and I know Reecie feels this way too, we're just talking about voter turnout. That's what it is. And pausing other folks for a minute because this is Urban View. We predominantly, not all, but predominantly black audience. When you see the voter turnout levels so hard in certain states so low, it's disturbing, and not just for the presidential election. Not just for the presidential election. You know, we're talking about all over. I mean, every seat in the House was up for grabs.
Yep.
And there were so many amazing candidates who ran. I mean, let's not. We always bring up Gary Chambers, Louisiana, Mike Espy, Mississippi. So, but I receive what you're saying, Mike. But we have to have a larger. I don't know who can orchestrate that about what you call the disease of voter apathy in our community, because they depend on that. Now, the ones who show up and vote, we do what it do.
Yeah.
And when I was in Philly, the day before the election, and even a week before the election of the Community College of Philadelphia, I remember saying to myself, "There's a problem."
Yeah. Yeah.
I told you that, Reecie. I said, I'm in Philly. Did. I text you like, Reecie, I'm scared. Yeah. This is my town. So I'm really scared because I'm at the Community College of Philadelphia with students. And there are things that people just don't know. But we have to go to a break. Reecie, you going to stay on YouTube for a second and talk to the people? You gonna stay on?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, we're going to head to the break. I can't be on YouTube with the break because I'll get feedback. So, Mike, brother, but you know what? You may have that prediction. There's no trophy in being right. So let's keep on pushing on. We on the same page, brother. I'm with you, man. All right. Clay Kane Show with Reecie Colbert. Be right back.
You're listening to The Clay Kane Show.
Let's see. Okay. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? Let's see. Bashir should run for the Senate seat. But I thought he just did he not just get reelected? I thought he did. Let's see. Bashir's going to run for president. Yeah, he probably will. I like Bashir. I'm not supporting him for president over other people, but I do like Bashir. Let's see. Thank you, Alice. Let's see. No more old white men. I know that's right, Sea Breeze. That's my attitude. Oh, interesting. Online Savant says Democrats should run on the platform of compulsory voting. It's sad how we have to beg people to vote, though. I'm sorry. Thank you, Tiger Shark Studios. The truth is, we as Americanized African Indigenous people talk too damn much about shit that doesn't mean anything. Okay. I mean, what else versus what? Let me know what that means. Sea Breeze. Charles, I will be on C-SPAN tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. Okay. Set your clocks. Oh, thank you, K. Colbert. Let me see. Local elections here in Mississippi are heartbroken. Oh my gosh. That's a big reason why when we talk about voter turnout, it's not about blame. It's just more so about the fact that we have capacity we're not exercising. Okay, we got to say bye. Bye, y'all.